Hello, everybody. Tonight on One and Done, your favorite broskies in basketball. Eric and Mike will join me to chop it up about the SoCon and the Southland, a couple fun leagues that may not get the proper shine all around the country. One of these leagues was ranked in the top dozen conferences in all of the land after last season, with 5 teams in the top 150, and the other conference has one of the best mid-major teams in the country. But if you're here listening to us talk Southland basketball, you probably already know that. But let's break it all down right now. Recording live from somewhere. This is One and Done.
Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
It's time once again for everybody to come aboard that Green Screens Media train. Welcome. Bienvenidos a todos a One and Done, your fast break of college basketball information. We are powered by the world's, the galaxy, the nebula, dare I say, the universe's greatest website. That is drroto.com. I'm your sometimes humble host. My name is Jay Heinrich. And if you know me, you know that I'm the conductor of the aforementioned Green Screens Media train. Find me on X at Dr. William Cannon. Follow me and I will smash that follow back button. 3 deep in the studio tonight here on this fine basketball program titled One and Done. So let's go first, as always, right there, to El Capitan himself, the captain of the Green Screens Media ship. He does the ship, I do the train, Eric does everything else, and so does Nate. Follow him, this guy, on X, at MC Holland34. That's the OG Money Mike, Mr. Mike Holland. Mike, what it do, baby?
Gentlemen, we are less than 50 days away from the fun, the madness. College basketball is almost here, baby. So I'm excited. We got a lot to talk about tonight, so I won't blabber on too much, but I'm excited to be here, and let's get this thing going.
I've done enough of the blabbering for the both of us, Mike. Appreciate you, and I also appreciate the man who, he's last in the intros, but you bet your sweet bottom he's number one in your hearts. He's the Baron of Bread of Green Screens Media. You can find in those Twitter streets at Fantasy Nav. He's Eric the Blue. That is Mr. Eric Romoff. Eric, always good to see you on screen, behind the scenes, whatever you want to call it. Always good to see you and have you on One and Done. What's up, man?
Man, good to be seen. Good to be back. If you've been following along live, you know that we're the only sickos out here covering basically every conference in college basketball except for those nerds in the Ivy League.
Nerd.
And if you've been following along, you know that I'm doing my thing out here. I'm hot boxing it. I'm sweat lodging. I'm getting a little schwitz going on the Monday night show as we head into SoCon and the Southland Conference. And I think we got a new name popping up here in the comment section. Alfred Kang, ready to talk about some McNeese State. You are in luck, Alfred. We are going to be going deep on the McNeese program here tonight.
Eric, I think Alfred might have been around once or twice before. Either way, new or old, regardless, the Kang Gang is in the live chat, and we hope you do your part by getting in the live chat. Do your part in the Green Screens Media universe. Push all those buttons. Like, subscribe, notification bells. Alfred, hop back in and let us know if you're brand new or if you've been around before. Confirm that for your broskies here on screen. We would love to hear from you as the show goes on. And yes, we will definitely hit McNeese State a ton later on in the show. But push all those buttons, like and subscribe. Make sure you follow us at One and Done CBB on Twitter, on Instagram, and of course on TikTok. We got a top 20 returning players countdown coming your way shortly. So you're going to want to be following us on all of those platforms. YouTube. What do we had? 1,152 subs, 151, somewhere around there.
I think 53.
Ooh.
Brick by brick, we're building this ladder to the moon.
It's the climb. There we go. We got to hit it a little bit. I just not really laying into this thing too early in the show. We probably get to some later, but we appreciate everybody for hanging out with us, especially if you're here talking SoCon and Southern. Like, you're one of us. And let's get to it. Let's get to that SoCon the old Southern Conference. Let me scroll down 1 second here, guys. What do we? Oh, we caught it. Oh, there we are. All right, of course, the SoCon and the Southland Conference. We're hitting the SoCon first. Samford last season eased past Chattanooga and UNC Greensboro by 3 games to win the regular season title. In the conference tournament, more of the same, as Samford defeated East Tennessee State in the final. That earned them a 13 seed in the NCAA tournament, losing a heartbreaker to Kansas.
It was a foul. In
the first round. Many will argue that unsuccessfully, apparently. But either way, an absolute heartbreaker to the Jayhawks. This was the conference we mentioned in the Open that was in the top dozen in the country, at least according to Ken Palm's metrics. They were number 12, the 12th rated conference in the country. And there are some people on this panel today that feel like they will be even higher this season. Last year, though, they did have 5 programs in the top 150. Samford inside the top 100. Look at that, at number 81. Eric, we made it through my keyboard dying and my screen messing up there. We got through the little intro there of the SoCon. About some old headlines. You know we like to start with some headlines. Eric, what you got?
Love starting with some headlines and love starting with some coaching changes. Mercer have moved on from Greg Gary. They welcome in Ryan Ritter. And in Western Carolina, they go from Justin Gray to Tim Kraft. Those are the 2 new headmen in the league. And while we have a lot to be excited about in terms of the quality of player in this conference, we've also seen a lot of the best guys head out to the Power 5 ranks. Chor, he's off to K-State. Mikhail Brown-Jones over to Ole Miss. And then JP Pegues, he has made his way up to the jungle to play for Auburn, right? So definitely have some of the most proven veterans moving their way out of the league. But the league as a whole is still one that just loves to chuck from range, right? Last year they were second in the country in 3-point rate in conference play, conference that has been either number 1 or number 2 dating back to 2018. So really the question is, live by the 3-ball, die by it. Who can make it rain from downtown? Who can defend the deep shot? If you can do both those things pretty well, you have a good shot at winning this conference.
No doubt about it. We love a good 3-point driven contest for sure. Easy on the eyes to when they're going in, when they are going in. But of course, those are the headlines of the SoCon. And yeah, our guy Alfred, he's been here for a while. I thought so. I recognize that name.
Maybe it's this heat. I just can't remember anything. My bad.
Must be. Are you all right down there? Like, are you seeing things?
I need relief.
More than normal anyway. All right, good stuff there from Alfred. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Now, around here on One and Done, we like a good 5-pack, and we're going to get to one of those later. However, right now for the SoCon, we're going to give you 3 returning duos that we feel like will make an impact in this conference. Yes, switching it up a little bit here, gents and ladies, broskies and broskets, of course, the entire One and Done universe on the whole. Everybody's welcome. Bienvenidos a todos. Start with Chattanooga. Honor Huff and Trey Bonham, a couple of players that made the second and first team all SoCon conference. First team and second team in the conference. Bonham was first. Huff was second. Huff, 17 points, a steal, 1.7 steals per game, 38% from 3. And then Bonham was 16 points, 5 boards, 3.5 dimes, 1.8 steals, 41% from 3. All that adds up to that first team honor. Mike, this Chattanooga backcourt is it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, you got to love this backcourt, man. Like these dudes can shoot, and kind of makes me question how good VMI would be if they stayed there, because that's where they both started their careers before they joined the Mocs. But both guys can obviously shoot it. Bonham got that Power 5 experience 2 years ago with Florida, immediately came back into the conference and dominated last year. And then Huff, more of your natural scorer, while Bonham's kind of that guy that gets others involved. They form a smaller backcourt, but that doesn't stop them from dominating offensively, Jay. So two really good players and exciting backcourt in this league.
No doubt about it. Let's move on now to another duo, East Tennessee State. Jaden Seymour and Kamari Peterson. This time, not all backcourt here. We're going to talk about Seymour, who is in the front court there, where he averaged 14.5 points and 6 boards per game, 13 all-conference last year. And then Peterson, 13.5 points, 3.5 dimes, and 1.6 steals per for East Tennessee State. Eric, what about this duo here on the screen excites you the most?
Yeah, I mean, this is where it all starts for the Bucks, right? These are their two leaders in usage and in minutes played that are returning for the Bucks. Both of these are seniors. They're experienced veterans. They're bona fide studs here in the SoCon. Seymour, he's got a real nice inside outside kind of game, especially at the forward position. He's also a really solid defender. He's got ability to switch. He just brings a lot of versatility. He's upped his 3-point percentage every single year. We mentioned that is going to be a through line for this league, from 10% in year one, 23 the following year, 31 last year. So maybe this is the year where we see him get over that Heinrich line. It feels like this is got the buildings and the makings of a big year for him. And then for Peterson, he fit in really nicely last year, right? This is this is a guy that came over after leading his JUCO team to its first ever national championship. Strong lead guard who can get in on both ends. His efficiency wasn't exactly where you want it to be. You see that a lot with guys that are coming up from the JUCO ranks, but with another year, with a year in the D1 ranks under his belt, I think he's a guy that, can go out and get his buckets. I think he'll get a little bit tighter on that efficiency, get his teammates a little bit more involved. But ultimately, the Bucks have to be real happy about this duo that's returning for them.
It's usually that second year in D1 where those guys really make that leap, and you see their full potential come out. It's faster. I mean, it is what it is.
Different game.
You go from high school to college, and you go from it's the same kind of jump, D3, D2, D1, all the way up. Like it's a different type of game. So good stuff there, Eric, about those East Tennessee State ballers. Wofford now, Mike, Corey Tripp, and Kyler Filowich. Tripp is the guard, 15.5 points, 4.5 boards, 3.5 dimes per game. First team all conference last season. And then Filowich, almost a double-double, basically. I mean, on any given night, he's going to get you 9 and 9, and then 3 dimes as well, distributing the ball nicely. And this is when you have these two types of players driving your offense, Mike. That's going to put you in a position to be successful on many evenings.
Yeah, I love this Wofford squad, especially this duo here. I mean, they were a part of one of the most effective and efficient offenses in the country last year. Tripp, he's entering his senior year in a program where he spent his entire career. So he was quick to absorb new coach Dwight Perry's role that he had for him. And he really flourished. He's a much better three-point shooter than his numbers indicated from last year, but very smart, savvy guard, takes care of the ball, makes plays for you. And then Filowich, also entering his final year. Just that low post presence, right? Excellent vision. Isn't going to stretch out the floor or anything like that. But one of the best rebounders in the conference, and you'd like him to up his free throw percentage. He's a career 40% free throw shooter. So if we can get, if we can get that to 55-60%, man, just becomes even more lethal with his ability to bang down low. But overall, he's a quality mid-major big. Love these two guys, especially the passing. Just creates a lot of open opportunities. This team that we'll talk about later about their 3-point shooting ability. So excited about this duo as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Tripp and Filowich are going to do their thing for Wofford for sure. All right. So we had 3 duos there, and now we're going to get to the 4 box of players we haven't gotten to yet that we want you to watch. But before we do that, make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. Boop, 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 boop. Right there. Hit them all. Do your part in the Green Screens Media universe. Hop in the live chat like our guy Alfred did. If you're watching live, do that. If you're watching later, get in the comments. Let us know about the SoCon and the Southland later on, of course. We're getting to it all tonight here on One and Done. Let's get to that 4 box of other returning players to the conference. PJ Smith, the Furman guard, averaged 10 points on 36% from beyond the arc last season. Rylan Jones, the Samford backcourt member, 9 points, 5 assists, 1.5 steals, 38% from 3, winning SoCon Newcomer of the Year. Good stuff there from Jones. Donovan Atwell, the UNC Greensboro guard, 11 points on 42% from deep. See if he can keep up that pace. And then Bernard Pelote, the Western Carolina forward, 7 points, 4.5 rebounds, and right at the Heinrich line of 35% from deep. You love to see it there from the big guy, can stretch the floor a little bit. We just wanted to touch on some of these really good players from around the conference that are returning. And Eric, I'll start with you. Who do you want to talk about first?
I'll go with Rylan Jones for Samford. He's been around for a while overall. He played at Utah. He played at Utah State. He's heading into Jay's favorite year number 6 playing college basketball. This is technically year number 2 at Samford. Like you mentioned, Jay, he was the SoCon Newcomer of the Year previously. But, he put up his best year over his storied career last year with Stanford, and he will once again lead buckyball madness for this team. I also want to touch on Donovan Atwell for UNC Greensboro. Sometimes the forgotten stud on a team that had, the Langleys and Mikhail Brown-Jones previously, right? So, it's his show, right? This is his time to step forward into that spotlight. He had an absurd 120 offensive rating and top 100 in turnover percentage, expecting a ton of usage and a big year here for Donovan Atwell. Mike, that leaves you with the other side of the graphic. What do you want to say about the guys we haven't touched on yet?
Yeah, I'll take PJ Smith here. Like Atwell, Furman had a lot of really good dudes taking away some of his spotlight, and now we expect him to be a primary option, a really good two-way player, just hunts his shot, expecting him to really up the scoring for this squad. And then, you got Bernard Pelote here from Western Carolina, spent a couple of years as a quality bench piece on some really, really good Western Carolina teams. People remember Vontarius Woolbright, super effective mid-major player for the last couple of years. So now that the faces of the program are pretty much gone, he's set up to have a big year as well. He's one of those versatile guys that can rebound, stretch the floor, just really effective. So, wanted to shine a little spotlight on Pelote here. I think he's going to have a really nice season.
Bernard Pelote, PJ Smith, Donovan Atwell, and Rylan Jones. A nice 4-box there of stars returning to the old SoCon. Good stuff there. Make sure, let's first of all show some love to our guy Eric, putting together some nice graphics there on the old screen. What a guy doing that work. Hey, listen up. We talked about the guys sticking around. We talked about some duos returning as well. But there's so much depth. There's so much more depth to this league. This is not your normal sort of mid-ish major conference. We got to hit some transfers here. Let's hit. There's the 5-pack. You knew the 5-pack was coming.
It's always around the corner.
Transfers. And, guys, let's just hit on these. Bash Wayland, the Chattanooga wing coming in from Bellarmine, 14 points per last year, 4 years at his previous stop, but really got his first opportunity last year. Nice looking wing who excels at attacking the basket. Mike, who do you want to touch on?
I'll jump in here, man. I'll take Colin Holloway. Spent some time at Georgetown previously before getting a regular opportunity at Tulane. He averaged 13 points per game last year for Tulane squad that had guys like Cheyenne James. So definitely able to do some things there. But he's just a versatile big. Should put up some big numbers in this Stanford offense. And also I'll take Ahmad Robinson here on the graphic. He's going to be at Mercer now. He's a New Hampshire transfer. He averaged 15 points per game, and just a really good year. I know it wasn't like the most efficient year, but a lot of the shine went to Clarence Daniels, who we talked about a lot over the last couple of years there at New Hampshire. And Robinson was 19th in the country in usage rate, 27th in the country in assist rate. So, this is a guy that is going to have the ball in his hands a lot and going to be a very good player for Mercer. Just needs to kind of up that efficiency. So that leaves Jalen Sullinger here, a guard from Furman, a transfer from Kent State for you, who averaged 15 points per game. Eric, what do you think about Sullinger here?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to like here. I think there's a lot for this Paladin program to be excited about with Jalen Sullinger. He took a big step forward during his junior year at Kent State. 5'10" guard. He now gets a chance to shine in, that Furman offense that put PJ Smith on the map. Really, really excels at knocking down the three ball, like we mentioned before. That is table stakes here in this league. And we have to spend a second talking about John Buggs as well. The guy was the least gaudy stats, but played for the best team of all these guys. Classic 3-point specialist. He's got experience with 3 different programs. I think that we can see him continue to move the needle for this Bucks program heading into the season.
Waylon, Buggs, Sullinger, Robinson, and Holloway, 5 players coming into this conference we felt like you needed to know. So make sure that Mark Cuban gif where he's on sharking.
There you go.
Make sure we're coming back to these guys later in the season. Waylon, for sure. He's going to be a special player in this conference. Good stuff there for the incoming transfers. Now let's get to the tiers. Yes, the old tier section. And no, not the tiers that fans of the Citadel usually cry. Not those kind of tiers. These are high, mid, and low tiers in the conference. And I'm going to take Chattanooga. 12-6 last season. Dynamic backcourt with Bonham and Huff. Coach Earl enters year 3 in what is a surging program. Waylon gives them another quality scorer. And the kicker is 2-time D2 All-American transfer Frank Champion is coming in to fill the void in the front court. So
it's going to be a good team.
This is going to be a really good team, guys. Put them in the high tier, right up there. High, so high. Put them on up there, Mr. Graphics Man. There they are. Mike, who you got?
I'm loving the way you're starting out here, Jay. We're talking about East Tennessee State. We profiled the duo Seymour and Peterson 8-10 last year, but these guys are back. They still have Karan Boyd, who could have easily made our spotlight as a member of if we did a big 3, or trio per se. One of the better two-way players in the conference. Buggs, obviously a quality floor stretcher, 45% from 3 last year at North Texas. So East Tennessee State, dropping them in that high tier. And then we got to start filling out some of these other slots here, fellas. So Furman at 10-8 last year. Kind of see them in a similar trajectory, somewhere here in this 8 to 10 win range. Obviously we have Smith, should be able to put up 17 to 18 points per game. Now with Pegues and Foster and some of those guys out of there. Sullinger comes in as well. He's going to be a good player for them. Ben Vanderwall is really effective offensively for them. They have pieces to be competitive every night. If this conference wasn't so good, I would love to put them in the high tier. I don't know if they get over that 10-win hump. So they're going to be a quality mid-major team, but just not enough to challenge for this particular league. So I'm going to have to drop them there in that mid-tier right there.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. That makes sense. You could definitely see a couple of ounces go their way, then hopping into that high tier. But speaking of the old mid tier, that M for Mercer also stands for mid. Got a new coach, a new look roster. Robinson was a bona fide scorer in the NEC. We know that. But then now Campbell Big, Lorenas, Ballesteros has joined Mercer. And he put up one of the highest OPBRs in the conference last year in 25 minutes per game. If they have enough, if it all comes together, they just have enough to be mid, unfortunately. Mercer's mid. Eric, how about Samford? What do you think about him?
And I think that Samford has a coach with a fun playing style, right? Bucky McMillan, Bucky Ball. It tends to get a little bit steamed up and get a lot of excitement behind it around a certain time of the year, and for good reason for my money. We talked about Ryland Jones earlier, heading into year number 6, really at the helm of this system. They've got more talent than that, right? We've got Holloway coming in. They've also got guard Trey Ford from Mississippi State transferring in. Julian Brown coming over from Wagner. This is going to be a really fun team, and I think a really competitive team. So I'm going to go ahead and put Samford all the way up in the high tier. Jay, I'll toss it right back to you as we chop down this list.
Well, look here, guys. Somebody's got to be the bad guy. Somebody's got to do it. And It's going to be me. That's all right. Citadel. Do we need to really talk about the Citadel a time? Like, they don't have much back, guys. It's really hard to be excited about what's coming in terms of being competitive in this conference. Keenan Davis, right? Like, if he's really, really good, like if you get his absolute ceiling, maybe you get 5 conference wins out of this team. But I feel like they're probably going to finish around the same, 3 or 4. Again, let's put them in the low tier, unfortunately. Mike, how about UNC Greensboro here? I don't think you're going to end up putting them in the low tier, but higher mid for UNC Greensboro.
Yeah, I mean 12-6, and we mentioned earlier they lost a lot. Atwell is back. You got Jalen Breath back, 6 points, 6 boards. Kenyon Giles from Radford, loved his game last year. Got to watch him play against North Carolina. He's a really good scorer. They have a George Mason guard, Ronald Polite, coming in, 7 points per game, a lot of experience in playmaking. It's just one of those things. This conference is going to be really tough. I think they do take a step back. I don't think it's a huge step back, but 9-10 wins, like solid season. But I don't think it's going to be enough to be up there with the with the best teams. They're just going to be a shade below. So good shot at getting back into the high tier, right? Like with the game, this is all on paper, right? We'll have to see the games, but UNC Greensboro, man, one of the wide range of outcomes with all this new talent coming in. So we'll see how they fare. Eric, you got the 1-17 VMI Cadets. What you got, my friend?
VMI Cadets 1-17, nowhere to go but up. Maybe a few games, 2-3 wins would be an improvement for this squad. And honestly, I'm kind of having a hard time seeing it. Right, to be fair to them, they've got to guard AJ Clark, really solid player, like his game a lot. But I don't know if he himself is going to be enough to move the needle really much further beyond where they finished last year. So VMI, we will slot them into the low tier and hope that there are brighter days ahead. Jay, you've got us up next with Western Carolina. What you think there?
I'm thinking that Western Carolina fans are not going to like what I have to say. 11-7 last year, but this isn't the same team. New coach, new roster. Based off what they had last year, it's going to take a step back. We talked about Pelote earlier. Like him a lot. He's a good player. He's a really solid player. But this is a younger team. It's going to take some time to get back to where they were. Maybe 6 or 7 wins, low tier, unfortunately, for me, for Western Carolina. One more there, Mike. Where's Wofford going?
Yeah, Wofford 10-8. We talked about their duo Tripp and Filowich. They also have a guard, Dylan Bailey, 12 points per game, 36% from 3. Jackson Seville's 9 points per game, 39% from 3. These guys can shoot. Like their roster is loaded with guys that can shoot the ball. They're one of the only mid-major teams where you have at least 9 guys post a positive OPBR in Division I last year. So they're going to be able to score the basketball. And they also brought in USC upstate guard Justin Bailey. He actually gives them some slashing ability and some defense on the perimeter. So I really like the way this Wofford squad is built. And, man, this is going to be a fun conference, man. I'm excited about this one. So I'm going to go ahead and stick Wofford up in that high tier.
I kind of thought you were going to go that route. Chattanooga, East Tennessee State, Samford is who Wofford will join up in that high tier. Firmer. That's what you get. It's what happens when you read Furman and Mercer like this. Furman and Mercer along with UNC Greensboro right in that old mid tier. And then down at the bottom, better days ahead. These teams might lose their smile, as they say. The Citadel, VMI, and Western Carolina rounding out this conference. Good stuff there in the SoCon. We made it through there. We made it through a good conference in the upcoming year. Mike, you were saying in the pre-show, like this is a team that could make a run at like top 10.
Yeah, I think this conference could challenge for, definitely 11-12 again. 10 is up there, but I mean, it depends on what they do in the non-con, right? If if they get knocked around the non-con, obviously they don't really have a shot to get to that 10 spot, but they're going to be loaded. So
pick a couple wins off here and there, though,
Yeah.
on the road. Go on the road and you pick a couple off, and then all of a sudden
they got a bunch of teams that
ballgame,
you don't
sure.
play, man. Buckyball, you got Wofford that can shoot a bunch of threes. East Tennessee State's old Chattanooga's backcourt, and then Frank Champion. Like, there are a lot of teams you don't want to play. Well, that's for sure. Furman.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Good stuff there for the SoCon. We appreciate all of you, broskies and broskets, for hanging out with us to talk SoCon. Talking so fast tonight, I can't even contain my excitement here. Good stuff there. Good stuff from Alfred, of course, who joined the live chat earlier. We're going to get to his Southland here, talking some McNeese State. We're going to get to that. But make sure before you do, hit those like and subscribe buttons. Do your part in the Green Screens Media universe. Hit them all. And then follow at MC Holland34, at Dr. William Ken, at Fantasy Nav. And then our guy, who I like to call, Steely Dan, because he don't want to do your dirty work no more. That's our guy, Nape C. Hustle, Chris, who might work into the rotation here real soon. We'll see him on screen. And he's a big part of our top 20 as well. And then, of course, a bunch of behind-the-scenes stuff that he does. So make sure you follow everybody on Twitter and then at One and Done CVB as well. But without further ado, Alfred, I put it off long enough. Let's get to the Southland, a 12-team league this coming year, added SFA and UT Rio Grande Valley from the WAC. Last year, they were a 10-team league, though, and McNeese State, here we go, Alfred. McNeese State nearly goes undefeated in league play to claim the regular season championship. And then the least surprising double-double maybe in the history of mid-major basketball. McNeese won their conference tournament, blew out Lamar, blew out Nichols to the surprise of nobody. Tough draw for McNeese. We were bummed when we saw this draw right away. It was one of the ones. McNeese was a team that we were super excited about watching and maybe making a run, and then they got put up against the Zags.
Oh, EK.
Did not work out well for them. Yeah, no kidding. It did not work out well for McNeese and Will Wade, but first-round exit there. Hey, listen, 29th rated conference in the country. But when you've got a team that ranked number 67 in McNeese, but which is by far the highest rated as well, and then Texas A&M Corpus Christi was the only other team inside the top 200. We're going to break this conference down and see if any of these other schools can work their way into that top 200 and beyond. And Eric, bring us some headlines so maybe we can get a little clarity on those situations.
Headlines. We're going to spin the coaching carousel first, as I am one to do. Houston Christian. They move on from Ron Cottrell. They bring in Craig Doty. New Orleans has parted ways with Mark Schlesinger. They welcome in Stacy Hollowell. And then UT River Grande Valley have said adieu to Matt Figger and welcome in Kahil Fennell. So bit of turnover in the coaching ranks here in the Southland. And look, I mean, we've said it a few times now. We're just a couple minutes into covering this conference. It's Will Wade's world, and everyone else is just living it, right? It's going to be big time expectations for McNeese State. Honestly, we talked about how they were the highest ranked mid-major team last year. I think they're probably going to end up a little bit higher this year. They have gone out and absolutely reloaded. So maybe we just embrace this and dive straight into what is a loaded McNeese roster.
Yeah, speaking of coaches that will be exiting the conference soon, Will Wade, but we won't focus too much on that. Let's focus. We will not.
Maybe he likes it there.
That's an opinion, and it's also true, but it's an opinion. Well, let's talk about McNeese, though, while we're on it. I mean, this team, Eric, to your point about being ranked even higher this year, we're going to give you a 5-pack of the graphic because that's what we like here on One and Done. It could be a 10-pack. It could be like what I used to have when I was in my late teens and I had like the ripple.
I believe that's double.
You know, that was, double, toil and trouble. You see, look at that. Those graphics there next to their names, it's all McNeese. We don't put up 5 guys with the same graphics with the same logo next to them. It doesn't happen like that. But McNeese's 5-pack that we're going to talk about definitely warrants just that. Could be a 10-pack. We could go 10 deep. We're only going to go 5. Javon Garcia, 11 points, 44% from 3, an absolute sniper in the backcourt there. DJ Richards joining him in the backcourt, 11 points on 45% from 3. Oh, is that good? Oh, it's even better than Garcia's number. Christian Shoemate in the front court, 12 points, 9.5 boards, first team all-conference last year in the Southland. And here's where things get a little spicy, Eric. You brought it up. The reinforcements. The gang's all here. Brandon Murray and Kadir Copeland. Yes, those Brandon Murray and Kadir Copeland. Yes, you know those names. Absolutely you do. Brandon Murray coming in from Ole Miss. Just 4 points a game and 36% from 3. Not a lot of run there, but you know the name. And then Kadir Copeland is the one that stood out the most to me. Coming in from Syracuse, of course, the former Orangeman. Averaged 9.5 points, 3 assists, and a steal and a half per game last year for Syracuse. Mike, I'm going to let you decide where to start here.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
Obviously, some guys coming back, some guys entering the program to sort of bolster it even more for Coach Will Wade. How do you want to start this?
Yeah, looking at the graphic we have for the 3 guys that are returning, Shoemate's clearly the headliner. We've talked about him a bunch over the last couple of years. An undersized forward, just keeps getting better every year. Obviously, the better players that are around him, the better his game is going to get. He's going to completely dominate this league again for the 3rd straight year. Garcia, coming in from UMass last year, had the 2nd highest offensive rating during league play. Just does it all, the little things on both ends. Love his game. And then DJ Richards, a wire wing, came in from UTSA last year after his freshman year. He was the guy that actually finished first in league play in offensive rating. Really good spot-up shooter. These guys are knockdown shooters. Obviously, you shoot nearly 45% from 3. You're going to be up there in offensive rating for sure. So that's just the returners. The transfers, Eric, we've covered in the DFS realm. You talked about Brandon Murray, obviously not a huge year, but what are your thoughts on at least these 2 guys? Because there's more coming.
Yeah, reinforcements have arrived, right? The transfers that we're going to spotlight here tonight are guys that have done a couple things in the Power 5 ranks, right? So Brandon Murray spent 2 years at Georgetown getting buckets before he went over and became the 6th man, or assumed the 6th man role for the Ole Miss Rebels. This is a guy that can absolutely fill it up at this level. It's going to be interesting to see exactly what kind of role Coach Wade carves out for him, because there's a number of different ways that he can help out this team. And in Copeland, Jay, like you mentioned, not only does he have that stat line, 9.5 points and almost 3 assists, also poked out a steal and a half and collected 4.5 rebounds per game. So just big energy guy coming off the bench for Syracuse as their 6th man. Another situation that we're going to have to follow closely to see exactly how Will Wade deploys him, right? Both of these guys could easily start. They could easily, one of them or each of them could make a case for slipping into that 6th man role. It is an embarrassment of riches. This war chest overfloweth for Coach Will Wade. It's going to be really fun to see how he puts all the pieces together.
Well, I'm going to ask you both right now, do you think both of them start from day one, or is that something that they'll eventually start, or do you see these guys coming off the bench?
Man, there's so many options. I kind of find Copeland interesting because he's been in that 6th man role, kind of keeping him there. Brandon Murray, if you ask him to go get 18 to 20, he could go do that for you. So it's tough, right? Because you got these guys that are back too. Richards, Garcia, Shoemate's obviously going to start. It's just
and we don't even talk. We're not Joe Charles coming in from Louisiana. He's a double. Steals a game. Sincere Parker. That's another name that we know.
Yeah,
he was at St. Louis last year where he averaged 16 points and 43% from beyond the arc. Jerome Brewer, Texas A&M Commerce, averaged 14 points, 5 boards, and a block and a half there. Oh, yeah. Mike Saunders is back. We haven't even talked about him yet. 6 points per game last season, 38% from 3.
It's ridiculous.
You hate to keep saying embarrassment of riches, but it's just there's not another phrase that comes to mind that really his cup overfloweth.
You rarely see rosters
Because
like this in the
Wade.
Southland.
Yeah, or
I mean,
a lot of other places.
I mean,
for that
yeah, a
matter.
lot of mid majors. Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of other mid majors.
Even just in the bottom of the Big 12 and Big 10. And
yeah, definitely. This is the team that we're going to need to watch. We're going to try to, we're digging on ESPN Plus or, I don't even know what's another. Yeah, the Ocho. Is that where they? I guarantee you, Will Wade's games will not be on the Ocho. I would imagine they would get a little bit of. Who knows? With all the, never mind. We're not going to go down that road. Here we go. McNeese State. Good stuff there. A super deep squad. Alfred, we hope, that whetted your appetite for McNeese State. Anything else you want to hear, make sure you hop back in there and let us know. And what do you know? It's another 5-pack of players from around the league here in the Southland. One transfer here and 4 guys coming back, including a couple of all-conference players. Jalen Anderson is the transfer, the incoming player I mentioned earlier, coming from Incarnate Word, just down the street here. Actually, right down the street from our guy Eric. Probably could throw a rock and hit Incarnate Word.
I can throw a football over the mountains too.
Well, that's debatable. 16 points, 4.5 times, a steal and a half, and 36% from 3 for Jalen Anderson last year at Incarnate Word. He's transferring in from Ball State. I might have messed that up earlier. He is playing for Incarnate Word. He's transferring in from Ball State is Anderson. Adam Hamilton, the Lamar Center, 10.5 points and 6.5 boards right there. Jamal West, the forward for Nichols, second team all Southland Conference last year, 13 points, 7.5 boards, block and a half per. Gary Clark, Texas A&M Corpus Christi big man, 13 points, 8 boards, first team all conference last year. And then Hassan Abdul Hakim, the UT Rio Grande Valley guard, 13 points, 3.5 assists, and 36% from 3. Mike, just give us some quick hitters on these important players from around this league and how they're going to impact their teams.
Yeah, I think the Southland's going to be much improved, which we're going to talk about in the tier section here. But Jalen Anderson, like we talked to Coach Hireman, he's pumped about that addition. Anderson was 9th in the country in minutes percentage, so he's used to being on the court a lot, and I doubt he drops too far from that ranking this coming year. I mean, he can do it all. Great 3-point shooter, excellent facilitator, gets in the passing lanes on defense. Gary Clark came in from Tarleton State last year. Just a dynamic playmaker to Texas A&M Corpus Christi, a really good rebounder, gives you some pop defensively. You got Jamal West. He spent a couple of years at South Alabama before exploding onto the scene at Nichols last year. He's not a great offensive player, but he can get it done around the basket, a really good shot blocker. So you love his two-way ability. Hassan Abdul Hakim, love the name. Also love the game there. He's only limited to 19 games, but excellent on this time, when he was out there. Loves to get to the free throw line. Strong defensively, 6'8", from that wing spot, so you love his size. And then Adam Hamilton, back for a final season, another guy in this league that can get after the glass and block shots, just a strong kid that's got a, just got a real feel for the game. So you love Adam Hamilton here. But, man, there's some pretty good players in this league. Outside of McNeese, they just don't have as many on one team as McNeese does. So pretty excited about the Southland, maybe jumping up a spot or two in the KP ranks.
Yeah, I have a feeling that they will. There is so much talent in this conference, and even if it's just on the shoulders of McNeese State, I feel like this conference has the ability to jump up a couple of spots. Jalen Anderson, Adam Hamilton, Jamal West, Gary Clark, and Hassan Abdul Hakim. Some names to know in the Southland Conference for show. Good stuff there. Hit those like and subscribe buttons. Make sure you show us some love there in the comments, on all the buttons, the notification bell, so you don't miss a minute of our coverage. It's football season too. That means basketball season's right under 50 days. Can you believe it? Might as well. It's like basically tomorrow, but it's not exactly tomorrow. So make sure you're following what we're doing here on our YouTube channel. Hey, we know a ton of you are watching right now on Twitter. We see those numbers. We see them. Get over to YouTube, Green Screens Media. Put it in the search bar. Type it in, and then hit the buttons so you have a save there. And you won't have to search for us anymore. Just right there at the top of your screen. We're going live 2-3 times a week.
Get over to YouTube and search Southland Conference Preview. We're the only result. We are the ones out here grinding for y'all.
It's us. Who is it? We. These guys. Of course. Make sure you do that and show us some love. And we will show you some love as well. All right, let's get over to the tiers before we wrap this thing up here. Not the tiers that Houston Christian supporters will be sobbing in what will be another tough year. No, high, mid, and low tiers for this conference. And yeah, Houston Christian will be in the low tier to start this off. New coach, new roster. Stop me if you've heard this before. But this is going to be another tough year for Houston Christian for sure. Guard Pierce Basil going to have a good year, but there's going to take a couple more spices, if you will, to get this thing going, other than Basil. So we're going to put him in the low tier. Unfortunately, but you know what they say, guys. That's like the foundation of the conference, maybe. So maybe Houston Christian can be the stronghold. No, they won't. They'll be low. Anyways, Incarnate Word, Eric, might as well go to you since that's in your neck of the woods. 3-15 in the conference last year, but this isn't that same squad.
Yeah, I get to be the Incarnate Word correspondent since they are here in my backyard. Like Mike mentioned, we got to sit down with Coach Shane Hireman and really got to hear his vision for the program. And it's a program that I think is on the rise. There are big improvements coming. Not only do we have Anderson coming in from Ball State, but his teammate, Davion Bailey, also making his way over. He brings 13 points per game and 43% shooting from downtown along with him. They've got a lot of pieces back as well, guys that are familiar with Coach Hireman's system. There's a lot to like here, right? I think they're going to shock a lot of people. Not us here on the One and Done show. We've been on this tip for a minute since we talked with Coach a few months back, but Incarnate Word for me going all the way up to the tippy top, going to move them into the high tier. And then I'll keep the bird talk going. We'll move over to Lamar. 12-6 in conference play last year. Solid roster that is returning. Center Adam Hamilton, someone that we profiled earlier. So like a lot of things about his game. They also have a wing. BB Knight gave them 11 points and 37% from downtown. All name list candidate and has some game to him as well. So this team might fall back a few games, but stay in the old mid tier.
That's not too surprising. And you know what else isn't surprising is that McNeese State's going to be in the high tier. Just put them in there. Do we need to really get into this anymore? One of the best mid-majors in the country. If we had 4 lines, they probably need their own tier, right? It just makes sense. But, we're not gonna penalize Incarnate Word for being, they're great. They're going to be great, but they're not going to be McNeese State great. At least I don't think so. But McNeese State in the high tier. We've waxed poetically enough about Will Wade's squad. Mike, why don't you take a couple of these teams here?
Yeah, New Orleans 4-14 last year. I really like Caleb Wilson-Rouse. He averaged 10 points per game. But this is a lot of unknowns on this roster. A lot of JUCO guys coming in, a lot of freshmen coming in. I think we see probably a similar type season. So New Orleans, we'll keep them in the low tier. Nicholls State's the team that I'm really high on, and we'll actually slide Nicholls up in the high tier. A lot of dudes back. Jamal West was a guy that we highlighted, but also Robert Brown, 14 points per game. Byron Ireland, 11 points per game are back. So a nice little trio there. Bringing in some high productive transfers from around the mid-major ranks to go along with these guys. So a lot to be excited about for Nicholls. So another one of those teams that fits kind of that 1B column. Just a tier notch below where McNeese is. We'll keep them on that top line as I think they'll win 11 or 12 games next year. So Jay, what are your thoughts on Northwestern State?
Well, real quick, you kind of answered my question there. I feel like they're going to take a little bit of a step back. I don't think that they're a 13 or 14 win team in this conference. So with that being said, is this a team that you think is possible, even with what they're bringing back, that could slide back even a little bit farther than that?
They think that's Incarnate Word, moving up, and a couple of the teams we'll talk about here where, it's an 11-win season in this 11 to 12, right? It's actually a really good year. Yeah. Whereas you're probably challenging, it's going to be tough, right? Because McNeese, they're going to project to win every single game, right? So if they drop 1 or 2, there still leaves, some crumbs to have 2 or 3 teams kind of up there with them over 10 wins. So
yeah, that makes sense. That makes a little bit of a step back, but still up in that high tier for Nickel State for sure. But unfortunately for Northwestern State, they will not be in the high tier nor the mid tier. I'm going to say low this year. I don't know if on a night in and night out basis, this team's going to be able to compete on both ends. Justin Wilson's a good two-way player. I'll give him props for that. 6 or 7 wins feels about right. So that's in this conference. It's right on the upper cusp of the low tier, unfortunately, for Northwestern State. A few more teams here down there at the bottom. Eric, I'll come back to you here. What about Southeast Louisiana?
What about them? 10-8 in conference play last year, and unfortunately, they lost some of their top end talent. Right, we got forward Sam Hines coming in from South Florida. He should give them a bit of a boost, but I think the real question mark here is on the defensive side of the court. Right, where are they going to be able to stop anyone and slow anyone else down? I think that will lead to them taking a bit of a step back. That leads to me putting them in the low tier. Mike, we've got a newcomer up next, Stephen F. Austin. What do we need to know?
Oh, SFA. I mean, they got some talent on the roster. Guard Matt Heyman, 10 points per game. Some rotation pieces back. I like their transfer. Keon Thompson coming in from UMass, averaged 10, 4, and 3. You have the big man Silla coming in from UCF. He's a defensive stalwart. So I'll keep them in the probably keep them in the mid tier. Don't know that they have the ceiling. They definitely have a really nice floor. Texas A&M Commerce 6-12 last year. Kalen Williams 16 points per game, can really score the ball. A lot of unknowns. The projections defensively, individually as well as a team, it's not pretty. So I think you're probably looking at 5 or 6 wins again from Texas A&M Commerce. So we'll have to unfortunately stick them in the old low tier. Filling up that low tier, guys. Probably need to start stacking some people toward the top. What do you got?
I think we will. And speaking of stacking towards the top, who's at the top of the comments all the time? It's our guy Peanut Butter Posse who just hopped in there. Ooh. New phone, who dis? Oh no, new conference, who dis? You don't normally show up if we're not talking SEC. No, I'm just kidding, giving you a hard time. Of course, good to see Peanut Butter Posse, one of our OGs in the live chat, joining Alfred in there tonight. Let's talk about Texas A&M Corpus Christi, though, ladies and gents. Of course, we have Clark. Guard Ian Wright Ford can defend with the best of them, and he averaged double figures scoring last year as well. This team on the whole will defend, and they play a style where they sort of just use everybody in an attempt to tire you out. They're just going to wear you down. It's Coach Jim Shaw's style. It's going to happen. This team is going to be really good again. I am going to add to the overcrowding, if you will, of the high tier compared to the mid, at least. A&M Corpus Christi right up there in the high tier. Now another newcomer here, Eric, to close us out.
Yeah, UT Rio Grande Valley, a newcomer to the Southland Conference. We talked about Abdul Hakim earlier, an absolute baller. He's got a pretty solid backcourt mate with him, Cliff Davis, a guy that chipped in 14 points per game last year. A lot of experience, a lot of depth on this team. Worry a little bit about their defensive prowess. I think that's just enough to keep them in the old mid-tier.
Ooh, all right. Not too bad for the newcomer in the conference. How about it? UT Rio Grande Valley, welcome to the Southland and welcome to the mid-tier. Why don't we start with the low tier, though? Houston Christian, New Orleans, Northwestern State, Southeast Louisiana, and Texas A&M Commerce down there. That solid foundation. It's got to start somewhere, guys and gals. Down there, the mid-tier, not so crowded. Lamar, Stephen F. Austin out there in Naca Get Down Dochis, as well as UT Rio Grande Valley in the old mid-tier there. And then in the high tier, a bunch of solid teams at the top of this conference, including, of course, McNeese State. Incarnate Word is going to, again, pay attention. Don't come here in February and be like, oh, we didn't know Incarnate Word was going to be good, because we told you right now. We told you right now in mid-September that they're going to be really good, alongside Nickel State and Texas A&M Corpus Christi as well in the old high tier for the Southland. Yeah, Peanut Butter Posse. Moorhead is up there, but Little Rock and Western Illinois were more of our favorites in the OVC show. But three of those of the better teams in that conference for sure. Johnny K. Oh my goodness. Johnny K. Commerce had a kid you liked, Brewer, but he's gone.
Jerome Brewer.
That's right, Johnny K. McNeese is where he is, along with everybody else in the free world that entered the transfer portal. Good stuff there. Johnny K. and of course Peanut Butter Posse hopping in, the two of the OGs in the live chat. Good to see you guys hanging out. And we saw you. We saw the spike of viewers on YouTube. We appreciate you guys coming over from Twitter and getting over to the YouTube channel and helping us out. Make sure you're pushing those buttons while you're there too. Show us some love. Show us you appreciate what we're doing over here on One and Done on this fine college basketball program. You know, Johnny K and Peanut Butter Posse in the chat. You know, maybe everybody can show up here as we do the Summit and Sun Belt next week. Not the SWAC yet, okay? We're not getting there yet, but the Summit and the Sun Belt coming up very soon. So make sure you hit all those buttons so you don't miss anything that we're doing. Man, the Southland and, of course, the SoCon, guys.
Conferences that are moving up a little bit.
On the way up for sure. Encore, says Peanut Butter Posse. You can get this show. You can get the encore of this show on pay-per-view. No. Right here on our YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us what we're doing. You can go back. You can watch some of those coaches' interviews that Mike and Eric were talking about earlier, a handful of those throughout the offseason, and then go back and watch the year before as well. Guess who we talked to? You know, he's at Kentucky now. You might have heard of him. Talked to him when he was over in BYU. But we talked to Coach Pope, of course. Check out some of those old interviews. Check out the ones from the years before, from this year. Check out all of our conference previews that we've done so far. I mean, my gosh, what have we not covered yet? I mean, obviously the Ivy League, but everything else under the sun, A10, AEC, ASUN, Big Sky, Big West, Big South, CAA, Conference USA, Horizon, MAC, MEAC, Missouri Valley Conference, NEC, OVC, Patriot League, SoCon, Southland. What else do you want? Who else?
We're almost in the single previews with like the WCC and the.
Yeah. We're almost there. We're almost to single conference shows. But even the most diehard fans are showing up tonight here for SoCon and Southland. Good stuff, Peanut Butter Posse, Johnny K, and then of course Alfred hopping in. It took a while for us to get to the Southland. Hope you stuck around with us, Alfred, and we hope you enjoyed the show. We hope you enjoyed it too if you hung out with us for 5 minutes, 5 seconds, 5 hours. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Push all those buttons, like and subscribe, follow us on Twitter, but most importantly, follow the show at One and Done CBB on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram. Instagram's going to get fired up here once the top 20 gets going and once we get into the season. You're going to want to follow us everywhere because we'll follow you everywhere as well. Just make sure you hit all those buttons. And follow us to the moon. We're heading there. The rocket ship is on the way up, 11:53 and rising. Push those buttons. Make sure you take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Tell somebody you love them. Make sure that you follow us everywhere. We love you guys. Summit Sunbelt coming up. We'll see you. Peace.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drrodo.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.